Let's bring in our political correspondent now, Amanda Acas. And Amanda, breaking news that we're hearing there has been another defection to reform. What can you tell us?
Well, yes, rather extraordinary news to come out on a Sunday night, of course, after that big moment with Robert Jenrick last week. But they have claimed another scalp from the Conservatives, and this will be their 7th sitting MP, Andrew Rosindell, who was a shadow minister as part of the Conservative Party before, shadow minister for Foreign Affairs. He's the member of Parliament for Romford. He's been a member of the Conservative Party since the age of 14. But he's just issued this statement, quite a lengthy statement on Twitter, saying that he's always been loyal and committed supporter of the principles advocated by Margaret Thatcher, which always underpinned his own political beliefs. But it's time now to put country before party. He says the failure of the Conservative Party, both when in government and more recently in opposition, to actively hold the government to account on the issue of Chagosian self-determination and the defence of British sovereignty, represents a clear red line for me. So this is something that we've been hearing a lot from the Conservatives and indeed Reform UK, the government's decision to effectively hand back the Chagos Islands to Mauritius, but to pay substantial sum of money to lease the airbase at Diego Garcia, which is held jointly between the US and the UK. This is something that negotiations started on under the Conservatives, finalised under the current government. Now, the Tories have been very critical of it, but again, a bit like Robert Jenrick, what Andrew Rosindell seems to be doing here is saying it's hard to remain a member of the Conservative Party and attack the government on these issues, knowing that during their time in government as Tories, they played a big part in a number of these issues. Now, clearly, Nigel Farage has welcomed him into the party, saying he's a great patriot. He'll be a great addition to our team ahead of the elections on May the 7th. Now, it's particularly awkward for Kemi Badenoch because at the end of the week, last week and over the weekend, she's been saying that her top team are now united, that it's Robert Jenrick is effectively no great loss from her party because he was never a team player, but she didn't think any other members of the shadow cabinet would be defecting because she trusted in all of their loyalty. Now, Andrew Rosindell isn't, well, certainly wasn't a member of the shadow cabinet, that has to be said, but he still was effectively a shadow junior minister, so he's still someone with a relatively well-known name. And for Reform UK, they don't have that many MPs, so to gain another sitting MP is a real coup for them, I would say. But also, I think perhaps this points to what Nigel Farage was saying at the press conference where he welcomed Robert Jenrick into the party after he was thrown out of the Tories. And he said the clock is ticking, basically, for any other Tories who want to jump ship, because after May the 7th, after those local elections in London, in local councils in Scotland and in Wales, he's going to close the door effectively and won't be taking any more defections. So really putting on pressure for members of Parliament in particular, but indeed former members of Parliament. Of course, we've seen many defections from members of Boris Johnson's former team in particular, that they've got to make their minds up. Because clearly Reform believe that after those elections they will be on a path to victory at the next general election. Of course, a great deal can change between now and then. At the moment, they're riding high at the polls and they're arguing that the Tory party are finished. Now, that's clearly not the case when you look at the numbers. The Tory party currently second ahead of Labour. But at the same time, this is yet more pressure on Kemi Badenoch and on her leadership, although I think her response to most defections from the Tories to Reform has been effectively, we're better off without you, but certainly not the kind of news that she'd want to be seeing on her Sunday evening ahead of another week in Westminster, trying to draw a line under what happened with Robert Jenrick last week.